Well, I'm gonna assume that we're live, which means we're back here on the Influence Hour. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again on Influence Hour, the show where we interview influencers and we talk about things that we want to move the dial on. I refine the meaning of the show every single time. Things we want to move the dial on. The theme of the show is identity, and there's so many things there, so many different ideas that I think about. The obvious identity, in my context, is the American identity, and we have to ask ourselves, what do we want that to be? I'm not going to go too deep on that because already I feel like that is kind of just the vibration. Think about that. Answer that question. What do you want it to be? Anyway, welcome to the show. Like I said, welcome back to Influence Hour. I'm your host, Kinyo, the mediapreneur. And I have a guest today, actually, who gave me that name. I'm not going to tell you who she is yet. She's here already. You know what? I don't like to keep my guests waiting, so I'm just going to say my intro. Go to www.kinyo.org. Check that out, you guys. Check it out, kinyo.org. Shopping and the universe right there. If you're interested in media, shout out to www.projectforward.tv. Streaming the future, you guys. Get at it. Now, without further ado, that's the intro. I want to welcome my guest. She's super awesome. I've worked with her for a long time. You've seen her probably in different iterations on different shows, so it's going to be awesome to talk with her right now and get her hot takes, because Influence Hour is kind of, the whole point of it is to look at products and then to see how the choices we make influence the world we live in. So I'm going to bring in this super awesome mediapreneur herself, as well as teacher, speaker, lecturer, information creator, Janie Terrazas. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Kinyo, thank you so much for inviting me. It's always fun getting to hang out with you. Even though we're not in person, we always have fabulous conversations. So anytime you invite me to do anything that you're doing, I'm always like, yes, you don't need to tell me what it is. Where do I need to be? How, what time is it at? I'm there.
Awesome. And, I appreciate it. Let's just drive straight into the questions, because I know you're going to give good answers. So the first question is, over the past 5 years, what is your biggest points of growth? What would you say?
For sure, self-awareness. Self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-accountability and responsibility, upped my self-care game, my self-esteem, self-dignity, self-respect, just all around, like the important selves that we, should all get curious about. Self-compassion, that kind of goes hand in hand with awareness and acceptance. Also diving deeply into, what does humility actually mean? Diving deeply into self-actualization and realization, like what does that mean? And what does it mean that we create our own reality? And I just got real curious. And because I love learning, I got interested in a lot of different subject matter that all sort of tied to physiology, psychology, philosophy, physics, all these things, because when you start to travel down, well, basically the question, is like, all these things that you asked me about, what have I been learning over the last 5 years, or what have been my biggest takeaways? It's really the whole journey of know thyself. You can't really love thyself unless you know thyself. And what does it mean to know thyself? Well, first and foremost, there's two just main things. You have to understand how the body works, and you have to understand psychology. You have to understand how the mind and body are interfacing, because that is happening. And so our well-being it really, how we are being impacts our well-being. Well, what is your being? Well, that's what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're feeling, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're watching, what you're listening to, who you're hanging out with. I mean, all of these things are impacting. It's a choice. There's a lot of choices that we're making, which is impacting our beingness, and that impacts our well-being. And it was so fascinating to me when I stumbled across this the emotional frequency chart, because every thought has this like electrical pulse, and then it creates a chemistry, it creates a chemical reaction. So there's this biochemistry that's taking place, and oddly enough, emotions that resonate under love fuel the cells. The cells are like, we have about 100 trillion cells made of energy, and the more joyful we are, the more balance of a life we live, the more energy and light the cells have. And that ends up improving our immunity, so it's not an accident that true happy people, not the ones that pretend to be happy, people that really feel joy and gratitude and inner peace, they are healthier, they look more vibrant because they have vitality. And unless you're living authentically, deliberately, intentionally, then it's, you're not going to have as much of that vibrancy, that vitality. So, I was kind of taught, I was raised in the religious culture. I grew up Catholic. My family's Christian. I lived in LA for 12 years. So I met people from every walk of life and every religion. And going back to that curiosity, I had a chance to, learn about a lot of different religions and the way they practice and their idea about what God is. And funny enough, I noticed that they all had this one thing in common, which was like a trinity of sorts. And I was like, I really want to learn, what does unconditional love mean? And it just so happened that, Yeshua, Jesus, Buddha, a lot of really beautiful teachers around the world taught some very fundamental principles that, funny enough, they're simple, but they can be very difficult to live by. And that's because the world has conditioned us in such a way to not really see ourselves as worthy, as love. I mean, that's really what we are. So going back to that emotional frequency chart, love-based actions and thoughts and words, there's those. And then there's the fear-based, which is like hate and division. There's unity, and then there's separation. You can pretty much give me any word and we can throw it in one side or the other. There's a polarity here that we're living in. There's a duality. And what we're starting to see now in the world is this major divide. And it's almost like we need to shine a light on it so we could get to the core and the cause of this in the first place. Right. We need to find unity and diversity. I needed to, in all those selves that I listed, I was split. I had to heal the battle that was going on and the war that was going on within me first and foremost. I had to understand that I am a piece of all that we see externally, the dark and the light. I have it in me to be as far removed from my spirit as I want and go dark and deep into my animalistic side and really play out that hate and anger and just bitter and jadedness. Like, I got the free will to be and feel what I want. And then there's the other emotions. So I have designed my mind. I've used the power and the power of my heart and my spirit and what is true, what is really true about life, what I am, not just who am I, it is what am I. I operate from that place first and foremost. When you step into that, that's owning your power. It's really owning all of that. And I use the power of my heart and spirit and all of this beautiful wisdom that I've taken in from teachers and all this stuff and all these beautiful downloads in my own meditation. And I have figured out how to clean my mind. It doesn't mean that I don't have these debilitating thoughts sometimes, but I'm mindful. Like I say, I'm mindful as F. Like I discern all of my thoughts, all of my words, all of my actions. I used to not be like that. I was operating kind of in this hypnotic subconscious state, not really thinking about why do I want what I want? Why do I do what I do? Why do I have these patterns in my life? Why do I keep attracting these types of partners? So I have this really cool thing. People can go to my site and get it for free. If you sign up, put your email in, I have a Know Thyself Jumpstarter Kit. And it's these 9 tests that every human being should understand about themselves. And, you're not going to get spammed or anything like that, but just get curious, man. And you'll be surprised that when you start dialing into your authentic self, not the part of you that's been traumatized and doing a lot of self-sabotaging things. When you start operating from this higher self state, abundance in all forms, in all ways, comes into your life. It's not just about affirmations and things like that. It's like it's every single day making the choice to live by a great book, The 4 Agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personal. Don't make assumptions, and do the best you can each day. It's a very simple book. If
That,
everybody in the world were to honor these things, we would see a much more peaceful world. But we have to
yeah,
do the personal work to heal our inner child wounds,
right.
and so that we can own and step into our allness and our greatness, which it really is not the way that we see people right now. That is just a temperature, a gauge of the mental and emotional and spiritual state of the people. The word civil is in civilization, and we are not acting civil. But you cannot have civility without humility, nor can you have it without a deep understanding of what understanding means. We were talking about this the other day. How do 2 people that come from 2 different places with 2 opposing viewpoints come together and have a civil conversation? I know I said a lot of stuff there. I don't even know if it all got caught.
It's all in there. And they can watch it back, so that's good. But no, I wanted to think about that. And so what of the past 3 to 4 years, if you had to say, if you had to pick a couple moments, what kind of what was like one moment, actually just one, what was one moment that really crystallized this, that you could say, like gave you, even as an affirmation? What's one like moment where you were like, "Ooh," or like you went into it on one end, you know, with your previous thoughts, and then you were like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to level up into what I'm saying, even on a level where I didn't even think about it."
Okay.
Like that?
Wow, that's a major
Digging
question
deep,
right
you know
there.
what I mean?
Okay, well, first of all, I believe all of us sort of have these like breakdown moments, these cataclysmic moments in our life that are intended to really break us down, not because anything is trying to punish us or anything like that, but it's a beautiful opportunity for us to grow and have a breakthrough, right? So for me, when my 10-year relationship and my marriage came to an end, because basically there was this awakening and this consciousness and just all this crazy stuff that was happening to me, and the growth between us was too big of a gap. And he wasn't, I realized, and if you want to say like what was it that I learned or heard, that I kind of went in this weird sort of Alice in Wonderland hole and then came back out and was like, what the, I was thinking I needed to figure out how to love my husband unconditionally, despite the fact that he was not willing to do any work to heal, and that he was going to continue to press on all of my traumas. I was like, how do I stay in this? Like, how can I stay in this when I'm being just, I didn't realize how much abuse was actually happening emotionally and mentally. It wasn't until I was out of that relationship. But in that, while I was in that relationship, I was going through my own spiritual walk, and God was teaching me about what unconditional love was. And I heard clear as day, by staying with him, you are not loving your own self unconditionally. Like if you want to learn unconditional love, you're going to have to leave that. You're going to have to leave this toxic relationship because it has already served its purpose. It's time for you to move on. And that meant me walking away from a friendship, from a business, from a marriage that I didn't want to walk away from, despite how ugly it was. I am such a radical optimist. I know, I don't care what state of a marriage like how broken it is. If two people have the same goal and the same intention and the same desire, miracles can happen. And you really can go from a horrible place to just falling in love in a whole new way. And I couldn't do that with him. So that was devastating for me.
Yeah.
On a lot of different levels, because also at the time, oddly enough, we were working as relationship coaches. So for, that's a lot of humiliation. There was betrayal. I mean, there's these 5 main wounds that all people are dealing with to some degree. And there's a spectrum. Right. And it's abandonment, betrayal, injustice, humiliation, and rejection. And everything that happened in that partnership was literally bringing all of those wounds to the surface, like on fleek for me. So that at that point, I was like, you know what? When this is done, I'm going through my dark night of the soul. That's what's happening right now. That's what I was saying. We all kind of have these breakthroughs, and you can look that stuff up, but anyway, dark night of the soul, I was going through it, and I refused to repeat that cycle again in my relationships and attract another man like that. I knew that I had some serious work to do on myself so that I could be whole, so that I could be balanced, and so that I could embody unconditional love and attract a man that was going to be able to meet me, in that way. And so anyway, I know, again, long answers to some questions you have, but hopefully that answered it.
That super duper answered it.
Sweet.
Very much so. And so next question number 2 is what are some things that you're working on, that are going on, that you are excited or even concepts that you are excited for in the future? Like, I'm talking the thing you are the most ridiculously excited about. What do you?
Okay, so this coming year, and I would imagine it's going to be in the first quarter, I am launching my program. And I work as a relationship coach, a mindfulness coach. There's a lot of different things that I do, and I have a lot of different content. And so I really took time this year to work on myself, to develop all these things. And then I was like, what's going to be my downloadable program? What is the first thing out? And I realized that it has to do with helping people tap into the power of peace that already exists within them. And I had been taking notes and, all that I've been through and all that I've learned. And I have gotten a coach and been working with them for the last few months to really get it honed in on what the name is, what it's intended for, and then what are like the steps. There's like these 8 steps to this program. There's a piece of me that so badly wants to tell you what the name is, because the name itself is just so like,
let's drop it. This is an exclusive. This is my exclusive. Not
really?
That listen to this. Not
like,
listen to it.
Okay, so, because there's this part of me that's like, how they say
on Instagram, but that's not a big deal.
Okay, well, let me say this first.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this first to you, and then you tell me, okay?
Okay.
One of the things that I had to learn around discernment and things like this is, how when we say what we're going to do and we put it all out there, and they talk about people's energy kind of getting into it. And so I have never really cared and put too much thought into that until I started realizing, there's something really to that. But this is legit. It is going to happen. And there was this piece of me that wanted to wait to launch the word when the program came out. So with that being said, you tell me what you think, and then I will consider it.
Okay, yeah. So I don't like to be superstitious because I think it's not a good idea. So
It's silly.
go ahead and say the name. Also, I'll tell you this if you want like a cool affirmation on it. I think that see, this is actually kind of a weird thing to say, but I'll say it because I'm asking something. Well, now if I say it, I don't want it to be pressure, so I'll just go ahead and say it. But I also think names are one of my greatest. I have like a certain relationship with names because people really underestimate what names are, I think. And I think the ability to create a name is very fascinating. And as a poet, I've always been dismantling and deconstructing the way in which we use words. And so I think that's been a huge part of why even people like to hear certain people speak, because certain people are applying a level of definition per syllable that is greater than what other people are doing. Some people are skipping over whole syllables, but it doesn't mean that they're not expressing themselves. It's just about the experience of, you know, the language. And I think that has trickled down into a sort of manifestation of my God-given gift, which literally um, is naming stuff. it
Okay.
sounds it
It's
sounds weird, but this is let me tell you where it has practical, because I think every gift has a very practical application in the present moment. And my current practical application is that I think everybody should have 10 businesses. And what I would love to do as a service is just to have people come to me, because you can't just name things incorrectly, you know. And it even goes, it's interesting, but you can't just name things incorrectly. There is a certain understanding that you have to have. And as a poet, and I'm good at it. And so I would have a service where people just come to me and I'm like, listen, this is your main brand name. I'm going to give you 10 tier brands right now. We're going to build the whole thing. Start your business. Let's go. Because there's a bunch of people who just, there's ideas and stuff like that. And even product names need to fly off the shelf, but people do have a very hard time. Anyway, so that's my little spiel. That was not what I expected to do today on Influence Hour, but this is a Janie Terrazas episode, so it's different. It's different.
it's different.
But
And
you know what? You know what? That being said, I'm
okay.
in a different mood this year. And last year I was all about do everything immediately. This year I'm okay with suspense. So
Okay.
so
Okay.
so I'll let you keep it. I'll let you keep it.
Well, I'm gonna have to tell you what it
No,
is.
I need the exclusive. I need the exclusive. You got to tell me what it is.
Okay. So, all right.
Too much. We have to.
Okay, so check it out.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're a wordsmith,
Yeah.
right? You're a poet. I love words too. I got real big into etymology
Right.
years ago when all of this started happening, and I started getting really curious. You know, God was leading me to like really look at the root of the word, you
Right.
know, and it was like get to the root of yourself and also get real curious about words because they create spells. You know, it's like incantation. Abracadabra means as I speak, I create, or I create as I speak. And words carry a vibration, right? So all that stuff fascinated me. And so when I was coming up with this, and my coach and I were going through this process, he took me through this whole thing for us and for me to kind of come up with the name. And when it showed up, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Okay, so check it out. If I'm helping people with peace, and which is where their wellness and abundance really is, I figured, he goes, come up with peace within, but in some other language. Well, peace in Spanish is paz, okay? And Greek, inside, to go within or inside in Greek is mesa, paz mesa. Now, what else I love about mesa is table in Spanish, and it's peace table. And I love the concept of a table because it has four legs. And I have these like four pillars of life, you know, and we have to have like sort of a cornerstone and a foundation. So that number 4 and that square and triangles, I'm real into like sacred geometry and things like that too. Numbers, mathematics, God is all of it. God is numbers and words. It's amazing. Source, universe, whatever you want to call it. Okay, wherever we all, creator, whatever this is, it's amazing. And paz mesa, it to me, even just breathing, like paz, mesa, you know? And what I love too is in order for you to have peace in your partnerships, in order for you to have peace in parenting, because I've done mindful parenting classes here in NEISD and been involved in different programs and projects. Go Love Now is another great project for parents and children to learn self-care and resilience and what does it mean to be compassionate and kind. So peace with parenting, peace in partnership. I'm a relationship coach. You got to have peace within yourself to be able to bring that into your partnership. It's also impacts, your prosperity. Peace and prosperity go hand in hand. Being able to take that into your paz mesa, into your professional life. It's like tap in, be paz mesa, and see what happens, to you and to your relationships and to all parts of your life. I cannot wait. It has been a tedious process for me, because even just talking to you, how do I simplify and how do I use language that's sort of universal, And I understand not everybody's ready for this process, because this is for people that are ready to get real with themselves. That's another acronym, real relationship, REAL. Responsible, empathetic, accountable, loyal. These are things like, that's what it means to be real. It's all centered and it's all tied. Paz Mesa and everything is tied to safe, feeling safe in your body, feeling safe to be you, knowing who you are, and feeling safe to express that wherever you go. Feeling safe to have healthy boundaries, feeling safe to love and be in relationship and in commitment with people, feeling safe in the world. The world is very chaotic right now. It doesn't feel very safe, but there's a solidness and a eternal like peace that I know how to go there. I don't care what's going on in my life. And when life throws me a curveball, I know how to be still. I know how to breathe. I know how to listen. I know how to wait.
You know what?
Paz Mesa is also about understanding patience,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I love it. I love it, and it was making me think about a bunch of things. But I'm not going to attach my thoughts to that beautiful launch that you're going to go into. I'll attach a couple of thoughts. I was thinking about
Please.
almost as like a I was just thinking. I was just going in my head, and I was like, as a platform, it's so cool. Like a platform for peace. I love that idea, so peace table, I like that. And even about that table, because what it makes me think about is the table that we set within ourselves.
Yes, and right, that's what I'm saying. And is your table bare? Are you dialed into scarcity,
Exactly.
or are you dialed into fruitfulness and
What's
bountifulness? And
beautiful
it's
about it,
the mindset.
if people took, you know what, I'm gonna go off on this. I'm not gonna do that right now. I'll do a little bit. I was gonna say, if people took snapshots of things like their coffee table over decades, I think it would tell them a lot more about themselves than they think, which is the
Ooh,
things that you put in priority. Now, if you think about the inner version of that, that's just like a metaphor. That might be circumstantial, whatever. But
yeah.
the inner table and what you put as priorities, because we sometimes think it's more complicated than it is, but it is like, you have these things that you go to. If on your table 1 out of 5 things is this thing that you go to 1 out of 5 times, guess what? It's gonna show up in your life. All
It
right.
will.
We're
It's like principles of peace, it's these principles of peace that I want to like share with people that have
cool.
been around since forever, and it's just kind of getting back to basics
Is
and
this
reprioritizing,
video?
like you said.
Is it like video? Is it a worksheet? Worksheet.
It'll be a downloadable series, and
Mhm.
they'll be pre-qualifying people too. So it's kind of like, once you go through it, there'll be weekly like basically Q&A gatherings So
Okay.
it's great because the community of people that are going through the
I love
program
that. I
will
really
have
love
each
that.
other to
Yeah.
share what their epiphanies are.
Yeah.
And so there'll be modules, there'll be some call to action. It'll also most likely come with like a workbook.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, and then what's great
Those,
is I'll kind of start with that. And then I do have,
those groups, the
ba-
Zoom, the groups where people can share, that is a major, I think, place of focus where you could literally revolutionize people's, because people have time like we're doing right now, because we think we're creating a show, but we're actually just living our basic lives, you know? Because sometimes we don't realize what we are is we're just forceful. We're like, guess what? I'm gonna do dope stuff all the time. And if it's so dope in contrast to society and that people want to call it a show, then put it on show and using that leverage to continue the momentum in the building of whatever it is as an entrepreneur. And I think there's a huge potential to affect people in this one-to-one because they need the excuse, because people don't always have the ability to give themselves the authority to take these times, but they need the excuse to get into things like this. You know, like I got in this, you ended up inspiring me to put my book up on the wall. I actually think that the Zoom meeting is such an inspiration of being able to affect each other and get into each other's lives in ways never before. That could be really good. Could,
exactly.
and definitely the way you're doing it, I think that focus, that I mean the focus on that Zoom part, the meetup, where it's like that's the place to go, where it's peace. You know, it's about peace. That is
Yeah.
so cool. That is so cool. It's gonna be such a cool. I'm excited as well. Uh,
And
right?
you know too,
Yeah.
I also want to mention, you know, peace doesn't mean that you're just like I never kind of
Yeah.
go off my center. You know, I have these emotions.
Yeah.
It's just now I know how to mindfully manage them, and I don't have to chronically live in this like state of, you know, fear, agitation, or anger and stuff like that. It's
You
really,
know,
it's liberating. It's liberating.
surfing is cool because it's harmony. You know, it's harmony with the wave. You
Yes.
know, a wave
That's
is a violent natural thing. You know, and to be in harmony with that is so cool. Um,
Yes. And that's what peace is. Peace is about understanding equilibrium,
yeah.
equanimity,
Mm-hmm.
homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
It's true alchemy. When you understand how to become the master of your emotions, first you have to understand your emotions. Then you can like learn how to master your emotions. This is when you become the chemist of your blood. And now you truly are in charge of your wellness, you know, and it's pretty great.
They're giving you guys the unlocks. A couple people know how to translate that to unlocks. That's super cool. Man, okay. Last question. Question number 3. What is your favorite thing that you've bought in the last 24 hours?
That okay. Well, I did just recently buy. I don't know if you've seen them, these ads on on social media, but there are these skinny lights that
Mm-hmm.
have different colors, and it has a remote control,
Yeah.
and you can like it can like flow a bunch of different colors like a rainbow,
Yeah.
or you could just make it all blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really into like color therapy and things like that. So
Yeah.
I just got that in the other day. I was like super excited. I will say this: I wish it was taller and it illuminated a little bit more brightly. It just means I have to buy another one. I was like, I know that they probably photoshopped that shit in the picture because it looked like it lit up the whole room, and then I turned it on. I was like, rah, rah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, that's super duper awesome. That's the third question. I like to hear that. That was like the one of the coolest answers where you actually knew what you liked that you had bought recently. So that was super cool. All right, Janie, where can they find you?
Okay, they could go to at Janie the mindfulness coach. They can go to janieterrazas.com. I'm also the creator of a social media platform called Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. So you could check out at Rise Above TV across the podcast options and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But go to my website for sure. Be a part of my community. Go get your Know Thyself Jumpstarter Kit and your 7 Positive Daily Habits. It'll be a PDF, and it'll just be a simple, practical, playful way for you to start practicing your paz mesa, like your peace, you know? I always say this, there's scripture and it says, I think it says, you are a masterpiece. I think it's Ephesians 2:10. And then I like to use a play on words. So we are a piece of the master, a masterpiece, here to masterpiece.
You know what's funny about that? I listened to 2 sermons on Sunday. Both of them mentioned that exact Bible verse.
It's not an accident, man. You're a masterpiece, Kinyo. And the more you dial into your masterpiece, baby, you make masterpieces. And that's what you do. You know,
Facts.
you're not afraid to create. We were born to create. People, come on, be a creator of love and awesomeness.
If you guys want to leave it all to me, that's fine. I'm going to record 2 songs after this podcast. So if you guys want to leave, if I get to have all the fun and you guys want to just leave it to me, that's all right. Me and Janie will rock it. Okay. Paz Mesa, come join us. I know I'm going to jump into some of those. I just saw, I want to say as we're leaving, I just saw Janie. She did a live like 2 hours ago. And I watched.
I love her. The fire starter.
Yes, she did a live like 2 hours ago. It's so funny because I just dropped today on, I don't know if you even saw it, I dropped the Game Changers video on my IGTV, the one that we did like 2 years ago or a year ago when we were talking about
yeah.
I redropped the video on IGTV because I was just like, the energy of that was cool. And I'm dropping videos very fast now because I just like to keep people in them. It's fun. Like social media is going so crazy. I'm just like, I'm here, take it all, let's go.
Exactly.
But anyway, she did a live and I jumped in there and I liked it. And I watched a little bit of it before some other stuff. But yeah, anyway, just thought I'd mention that.
I know you got your media upfronts coming up, and I think I'll be a part of that as well. So thanks for everything you do, you know, to just put more love out there and create those good vibes.
Yes, it's true, which is why, you know, I want you guys to go to kinyo.org. Do it and enjoy and buy something. And then also go to JanieTerrazas.com. Thank you so much, Janie Terrazas, for being a guest on this Influence Hour identity. I didn't even have to go back into it too much, but I started it with that question, and that was a small question, and we expanded it into something so huge. And I think that's so awesome. So thank you again so much, Janie Terrazas. You guys go check out Janie Terrazas. Go to www.JanieTerrazas.com.
Yes.
Go ahead and do that and put your email in. You'll definitely get on her mailing list. She has a cool mailing list, and that'll be cool because then you'll be hearing from her. And I definitely would love, I would love for, like, you know, immediately 20 more people. If everyone who watches this jumps on her mailing list, then that is enough for me. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Influence Hour. It's over. Janie, goodbye. On this show, when I hang up, it's weird. I just hang up on everybody. And
okay, peace be